Hello, team, and welcome to your Wednesday dose of wealth wisdom on this glorious Friday. I did a course at the weekend, so I was like booked up, not booked up, work had built up, and I just needed to focus on that as opposed to like doing this where I can sort of let this be pushed to the left or the right, however you look at it. Right, I'm going to quickly share. This to a few places and then we'll begin. A bit of a big one today, and I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in this one because I'm going to review the course I did at the weekend and talk about my quest for a new mentor, which I've been searching for a fairly substantial amount of time. All right, that's one place shared. I think I need to share it to two places. I'll share it later because I can't really remember where I'd normally share it to. Okay, here we go. Hello and welcome to your Wednesday dose of wealth wisdom with me, Daniel Kennedy, your host, Wealth Dragon Coach, CEO of Home Hug Limited, KML Group, and Steadfast Construction and Design. Got many hats. Today, I'm going to be discussing quest for a new mentor, like what you need to look for. Are they even worth it? Followed by a review of the Property Developers Secrets course versus the Property Academy course, because I've done both. And I had very different mindsets from when I went on the Property Developers Academy course to the Property Developers Secrets course, because I was looking for a reason not to do development on the PDA, as opposed to wanting to do it on the PDS. So we'll delve into that. So I have been looking for a development mentor or somebody who, because I'm seeing all these deals on Facebook, say like these 40-bed HMOs, like 60-bed HMOs, and like blocks of flats, and like we can't even bloody get planning for a shed, man. Like, so we're obviously missing something. Me and Elton, we discussed this. Me and my partner, who we run Home Limited with, we discussed this, and we're like, something's missing. We're community space, the quality is really high, and we're still failing to get planning. So I've been engaging with a few architects, haven't found a planning consultant, and we've been going through them like hot dinners, really. And I've had plenty of hot dinners. And we just weren't finding the right piece. So I think I found somebody who I like fairly quite a bit, but I'm still going to engage with other people to try and build that slot of the team. So we decided, we've been with the Wealth Dragons now, like, because although I'm teaching there, I still get mentored by the fabulous Flo. She's really focused on sort of like negotiation, getting the best deal, and structuring deals. Like, she's top notch for that. Whereas I'm sort of the go-to person for developments in that group, and I only really know up to a certain level. And I want to do really big deals as opposed to the 8 beds. I want to jump into like 16 beds, maybe even a 15 apartment block that I'm looking at. So we decided to look for a mentor. And so my first step was to post in various groups of people who provide this service. And I posted in Assets for Life. I posted in the Progressive Property. I posted in the Property Developers Secrets. I posted in the Property Developers Academy one. And it was all the same post. I was like, hi guys, I'm looking for a development mentor. And when I mean development, I mean fairly large scale developments, maybe 8 to 10 units building up to larger ones. If any of your companies provide it, let me know what service you provide. And also, if there are any past students that are in the circle, please could you PM me? And I would really like to chat about what service you got. And interestingly enough, so the property progressive one, they let the post stand, but no one engaged. So I'm guessing they don't have like a development mentor, because usually their sales funnel's spot on. But no one really got in touch with me. So obviously that fell by the wayside. But they let the post stand. They let the post where I said, any past students, please get in touch. Assets for Life deleted it straight away. So that tells me they're a bunch of massive whoppers. Anybody who won't be completely open to scrutiny, because you can never please anyone. And I'm sure even me now coaching for the Wealth Dragons, I feel like I'm providing a good service. I bet there's some out there that aren't really happy with the service I provide. So it's having the ability to take criticism and somebody to say, I don't think you're doing it that well. Please, could you add more, etc. That's really key for me. Because you're not picking on the person, you're telling them or giving them an opportunity to make their product better. Property Developers Secrets, they let the post stand. The trainers actually engaged with me. They got a really sort of great customer care. I really liked how that went. And that's sort of like the sales funnel, so to speak, because obviously I'm a lead that they can sell to, etc. The Property Developers Academy course, they just said we don't do the courses anymore. They let it stand. I've already done the course previously, so I was happy with that. So that was my first step, is asking to speak to previous students. So I got good and bad from all, even when some of the trainers didn't engage. I then wanted to research the trainers that I had ring fenced. So I had a few trainers contact me from the posts. So I delved into what they provided, or what they had done rather. And what I really looked for is somebody who would post about the mess ups that they did, the mistakes that they'd made, because I'm obviously not the most experienced person in the world, but I've got a fair amount of experience, and there has never been a smooth journey for property and making money. And somebody who says that it's easy, who says you can do it, like, you've all seen the videos, like, yeah, do it, you can do it, yeah, it's great stuff. Mindset is obviously key, but somebody who says that it's easy, somebody who says their journey to success was fairly sort of smooth, is, I think, full of dog toffee, because it's never been smooth for me. And I consider myself quite a competent person. I've got really competent people around me helping, and it's been a complete clusterfuck every stage of the property journey. It still amazes me that I've actually made money with the amount of mistakes that have occurred. And I've had really great mentors that have given me a really sort of like path, like really well beaten path to walk to get to where they are. And I've still messed it up. Like buying it, like I had people say, don't buy in that area. And I'm like, I know better than you. I've got 2 years property experience. You've only got 25. I bought in the area, and the HMO doesn't make that much money, funnily enough. That's just the nature of my personality. And sometimes we need to do it for ourselves rather than be told. So I wanted somebody who admitted to their mistakes, who admitted to the adversity that they faced to get where they are. I also do, everyone says, so I've got ads out there saying I went from nothing to £3 million worth of portfolio. And for anybody who was interested in getting taught by the Wealth Dragon, you should immediately assume that isn't true and do some digging. You should go into my company accounts. You should go into my YouTube channels and look at the property value and make sure that it marries up, because anybody can lie over Facebook. And I've caught, so a few of the trainers that engaged with me, I saw their ads and I said, yeah, we got £7 million worth of property. And then I went through the company accounts, and they had like £150,000 worth of loans. So obviously they're not got property worth 7 million. It's really quite easy to tell if somebody's lying. And I don't mind training companies where their whole business is training, as long as they've got loads of properties in their main income, or they have a big sizable income from property, because some people will get way more money from training than they will property. So like if you look at progressive accounts, they make about 700,000 a year, judging by their accounts from property, but they make 70 million, believe it or not, like gross turnover from training. So that's interesting, nearly like times 10. And I don't mind that, because if you're a good trainer and you provide a good service, that's fine. But I wanted somebody who was doing it and then had a bit of spare time and then would be able to advise me. I didn't want the whole full circle that I got from the Wealth Dragons, because I don't feel that I needed it. I just needed somebody I could call off, ask a few questions, put me into the direction of where I could go, and then I'd be tickety-boo. Now we'll move on to mentors. Are they worth it? It all depends on the person who's being taught, because if somebody... So, for instance, I've found teaching people, I'll tell them to do something and they won't do it. And then I'll meet them at the next meeting and they'll say, oh, I'm not getting any leads. I'm not doing it. And then I think back, I bloody told you to do this. And if that person doesn't take action, don't waste your money on courses and mentorships. Just don't, because it's a lot of money. And if you don't take action or you don't have the time to do it, you're only going to lose money, and you want to be making money. Obviously, that's why you get involved in property. So if you've sort of got a system or got a scenario where you're able to actually take action, you've got spare time. If you've got 3 newborn children and you've got a full-time job, 60-hour job, I wouldn't bother. Get that part of your life sorted, free up some time, because it's very time intensive, and you don't want to add the stress onto a normal daily life, because it can be really, really difficult. And I was in a full-time job. I didn't have any family. I had a partner, and it sucked up every second of my free time to be able to get to where I am now. So you need time and you need the will to change. If you haven't got that, there's no amount of courses are going to change your sort of trajectory in life. You need to make sure that you're willing to take action. You're willing to improve your social skills. You're willing to improve, because everything bleeds into everything else. If you're one of those people, then obviously mentors are perfect for you. But you've also got to be aware of the charlatans, because I think there are more bad ones and there are good ones. I've dealt with the fallout of people being sucked in by the fanboy syndrome. So my advice to you is assume everyone is being slightly untrue, and only until you see evidence of it that you should trust that person. So if somebody says, I built 8 houses, for instance, like the BDS, they told me the address. I didn't take it at face value in the evening. I went, searched on land registry, I checked the company, and they own them. So I was like, brilliant. And I'm always going to do that with everybody. So if somebody tells me I've got that deal, I'll go and search it. And I've caught quite a few people out actually doing this. I've caught more people out who said they've done this deal than people who've said they've done the deal and proven true. So that should always be your first port of call. So for instance, if you were wanting to get trained by the Wealth Dragons and I said, I've got £3 million worth of property as sort of like a sales bit, you should say, can you tell me those property addresses, please? And then if I was to go like, what, and become like a bumbling idiot and not give you the addresses, not let you fact check me, immediately you should be like, walls down, I ain't giving this idiot any money. But if I'm like, yep, these are the addresses, these are what I bought it for, these are what they were financed, this is what I spent. Anybody should be really, really open with telling you that. And if somebody's a private individual and they're a trainer, that's not right. That shouldn't marry up, because you can go and check that out, that person anyway, and see what properties they own in the company accounts. It'll tell you, because it'll tell you where the charges from the mortgage company are logged on the property. Oh, my dog's just come in. What are you doing, buddy? Then go away, buddy. If somebody's being sort of like guarded, as I said previously, just wipe them from your list of people who you want to get trained from. They should be completely open, because if you're investing that money, you want to know what kind of service you're getting. You want to have it in a contractual agreement. And you know if somebody's being sneaky, don't you? You can just immediately tell. If someone's not completely open. And first, sorry, he's like, get out of here. Sorry about that, team. You know somebody's being sneaky and trying to get rid of your questions. This dog. Come on, then. Show yourself to the world, buddy. They should be completely open, and they'll tell you that they made more mistakes than they had successes, because everyone goes through the journey. And for me, my first 3 refurbs, I lost money on. I only made money on the 4th one, but I was fairly good at sourcing, so I could take the loss. The people that I speak to who are now successful talk about how difficult it was. No one says it's easy. Everybody who's actually doing it says that it's a pain, it's a nightmare, and that they've had lots of adversity. So you're Samuel Leeds who says, you can do it, it's really easy, it's really, really great. Look, bullshit, it's not. And you don't want to fall for that victim of fanboy and then invest all in that person. Like, show no loyalty to anybody. If you're paying for a service, it doesn't matter whether you like them or not, or whether they like you, just as long as the service is good. So personally, I think that worth it if you are the right person. So if you're somebody who can take action, you're somebody who doesn't need like loads of hand holding. So you get told to do something and you do it, and you don't come up with these feeble excuses. Then go for it, because the ramifications of you having somebody you can talk to, somebody who will help you, somebody who will God, this dog's annoying. Somebody who will send you in the right direction. It's for me, for example, I paid $12,000 for my first mentorship, and in the first year I made just over $40,000 sourcing deals. And then I lost a bit of money on my first 3 refurbs. And then the first one that I bought myself, I made over $160,000 on it. So was it worth it? Absolutely, it was for me. If you want to fact check that, that's 12 Birch's Close B13 90R. Bought it for 107, spent 60 on it, got it revalued at 325. So I pulled out 240. So I made quite a lot of money there, and it replaced my wage, that one. And I did that through the help of my mentor. And now, so that's my talk on whether mentors are good or not. And who did I decide to go with? Well, I decided to go with a wonderful team, Claire Farrington and her sister, because they're getting fantastic HMOs. They've got a really scalable business where they're able to network, and kind of like, it's where I want to be in maybe like 3 or 4 years. She got in contact with me. We had a chat, and she actually helped me for free for quite a lot before we even talked about mentorship. So they gave me like loads of free. So I knew they knew their stuff anyway, because of how big the HMOs are, how they structure it, and all the like content. This is why content's really important. All they did was document what they do day to day. And I found it so useful, and I just saw like the way the business was set up. I thought, yeah, that's exactly where I want to be. I want to take steps to go in that direction, because it's very systemized. They do these really, really big projects, and they've got like a sourcer, they've got like a seller, they've got multiple people, and it seems to be like a really good work culture. And I wouldn't mind sort of doing a copy and paste, because those of you now who sort of, when I show what I do, all I've done from where I was when I went flipped from sourcing to doing HMOs, all I did was copy Nick Leveland. Like, I went up there, had a chat. He told me everything that he did, how he structured it all. All I did was copy it. I was like, that is a good system. Yeah, I'm copying it. But it's very time intensive now, and I'm getting a bit tired of it. So now I want to do bigger deals, but then start outsourcing more of my role and responsibilities and getting more staff on. And I think Claire is the perfect person to do that. So yeah, that's who I chose, Claire. And obviously I'll be very open about how things are going. I'm already very, very pleased. Like, we had a little chat yesterday, and got a list of what I need to do, who I need to contact. It's fantastic. And now we'll go on to the review of the Property Developers Secrets course versus the PDA course. So both of them are to do with property development. And I'm not naive to think you can start developing after 3 days of a course. Like, that was never, ever going to happen. They were both only ever going to be a taster of what their inner circle was. And I would definitely recommend you get a mentor and join an inner circle of some kind if you're going to do property development. Sorry, I'm going to have to get rid of my dog. He's biting me at the minute. Go on. Can you take Camelot in the kitchen? Oh my goodness, that was a pain. Well, I love my dog anyway. So, for those of you who don't know, the Property Developers Secrets are sort of like a training company. They're fairly new to the industry. 2014 is when they did the first development. Like, 5 years in the property industry is nothing, just like my 4 years. It's nothing in comparison to the really sort of like long-term property investors who have been through a few cycles. So The other course is Property Developers Academy course, which they don't run anymore because they're now focused on site acquisition. That is a generational team where they've been doing it for 3 generations, or on the 3rd generation now, and they follow the build to sell model. So I've already done a really in-depth review of the PDA course. So all I'm going to do is like the comparison of what I think is good about that and what I think is good about the PDS. So day 1 of the PDS, we basically did sourcing. So we talked about Nimbus. We talked about we did lots of case studies of some of the deals that they did. So you know what I said earlier about not ever taking anything at face value? I immediately wrote down the addresses and I did land registry searches to make sure that they were legit. And yeah, they're all legit. They own them. They're in their company. So I was pleased to hear that. They talked about how they didn't really know what they were doing in the beginning and the sort of mindset. So it's very risky what they did, and props to them. They're now getting the reward of it. It was a lot of mindset. Then we focused on sourcing and what to look for, but it was very much an overview. Whereas the property developer's secrets, property developer, I'll call them PDA and PDS. The PDA was very much about preparing a site. So we did a bit of sourcing on both first days, but a big contrast of what I found the PDS and the PDA was the PDA course was preparing a site for the works. So it was a lot more detailed on what you need to do prior to getting it. So like the planning stage, like what trades, what professionals you need involved in each stage, like what surveys you need doing. Like it's so much more detailed. And I'm guessing it's because they're a generational company and they speak openly about it. They nearly went under. So they're very, very cautious. Right now, I'll say from both 3 days course, you're not ready to develop from them. Absolutely not. They're very much general overviews. I think you'd get your hands burnt if you thought you were ready. I definitely think you need to go to the next level and do a mastermind if you were going to do it, because there's lots more questions that come out of those 3 days. The PDS was really good for sourcing. It was a lot more. It gave you the people to speak to. So it said, this person does this role. This is who you need to speak to. This person does that role. You need that person in your team. You need to consult lots of people. But it was also very much focused on leveraging. It was sort of like, you don't really need to know too much yourself. You can use other people, where the PDA was say, you need to kind of learn everyone's roles. So you know what's a good service and what's a bad service, which I resonate with more. I would never want to just completely throw something to somebody else and assume that they know what they're doing. I would like to know what needs to be done properly and then chase it up. And then once that person's earned their trust, I let them get on with it. But I still always check up on them. It's just my nature. And then the PDS, it was a really great what to look for sites. We did a few case studies, which I thought was fantastic. The gentleman from Nimbus came in, did sort of like a sales pitch. And then like day 2, there was a moment in day 2 where we were breaking arrows, and I was like, I've paid a fucking £1,000 for this course and I'm breaking arrows. Please do not go the way I think it's going to go. And you know what? It completely went back round and I got really, really great value from it. There was a few moments where I was like, oh God, I've made a terrible mistake. But it's just in their nature. They really, really sort of preach the self-development, and it works for them because I imagine there's been some tough times, and without the self-development side of it, you probably wouldn't push through. And they're quite open about how you're going to get problems, which I really like. They'd never said it was easy. I'm on about the PDS here. Because I can only imagine the problems just get times by 10 when you're doing multiple units. And they're very open about their struggling with the SA market, and now they've kind of turned it around. So that was really good. And the planning consultant, John McDermott, he obviously knows his stuff. One thing that I really liked is that, say, the case studies, he looked at everyone and he wasn't afraid to tell you what you didn't want to hear. So I've invested quite a bit of money in the site, and he said, walk away from it, you ain't getting nothing. And you know what? I'm going to, because he knows his stuff, man. I checked him out. and there are plenty of sites in the pipeline, so I'm not too emotionally attached. One thing I didn't like, in fact, I really didn't like this, is the way that he operates. It's him against the planners rather than with the planners. It was kind of like talking down about how they're idiots, don't know their job. I didn't like that. There's no need for it, really. Obviously, he's got more experience. I'm sure he's come up with lots of incompetent people. But if you can help them and teach them and maybe like make it a win-win, for me, in being in a small area in Birmingham, I'm always going to stay in Birmingham because I want to. This is my market, and I'm in a very micro market. And if I was to use John for my planning apps, he would piss everyone off in the planning office, because I kind of felt pissed off on other people's behalf. And then like anyone who does planning apps in Birmingham, there's only a few people. You deal with Tracy, you deal with Wazim, you deal with James, you deal with Elliot. So if you annoy them, it's a very small department, and how much leeway are they going to give you if you're constantly like belittling them? So I would want to use somebody who's a bit more reserved, and a bit more personable, is my experience. So then my favorite part of the day was day 3, the build it day. Oh God, it was just structured so well. Where that's where I think it flipped on the other side, where the PDS went into a lot more detail. So the PDA was really, really, really good at de-risking a site. So they look for reasons to say no, when you have like a range of prices. So you'd go and get quotes out, and you'd have grade A, grade 2, and it could be in between those prices. And that's how you price a site, and you do the work rather than leaving it to somebody else. Which I thought is brilliant. And then the PDS was where you put it into software and they would generate it, and they would generate the cost of work. But the stuff of going into the ground and getting out of the ground and doing conversions, it was all brushed over a little bit. They have the attitude of you come across that problem, then you deal with it. Whereas the PDA says you need to account for everything and de-risk yourself, because if you're taking on all this money, it could potentially go pop. So they complement each other really, really well, actually. And me and Elton will be taking elements from both for when we go into development. We'll be taking how to price a site from the PDA, because I like their spreadsheet. It's like a 200-page document. Like once you put your offer in and you kind of get your planning side and you do all the sort of like the groundworks, everything that you need to investigate. And then definitely on the PDS, we'll be taking the planning side and sourcing side, because they were really, really good at that. I thought they really excelled in the way they taught it. I remembered a lot more. So they're both really complementary. Hold on, yeah, and that's pretty much it. So I didn't end up going with any of them, but we are going to go to the the sourcing and planning course from the Property Developers Secrets, because I think that'll be beneficial. And what I'm hoping is I'll get Elton within that circle to just source deals, and then I can focus on the build side of it and work with Claire about scaling the business. So we're going to get the best from both worlds. And that's kind of the journey. So it took me quite a long time. We've been searching for one for about 4 or 5 months now. And we've been very, very deliberate with who we've chosen. And so I'll obviously update on how it's going. We've chosen 2, basically, one for me, one for Elton. I just think Elton will work better within the PDS sort of mastermind. And I will work better with the relationship that I've got with Claire and her company. And hopefully you'll see us doing bigger deals. Should you go on the courses? If you're flirting with the idea of developments, absolutely. I would definitely recommend you go on it. It never hurts to do education. Like the course is minuscule in comparison to how much you can lose. I wish there was a course that was a bit more dumbed down for developments. So, like your basic refurbs, like your first fix, second fix, third fix, the how to deal with a build. I wish there was a course like that, because I would have done that after I'd done my mentorship, because I needed it. I lost money on my first 3 deals, not because they were bad deals. They were great deals. They only, in reality now I'd spend about 10K on them, but I was spending like 30, 25K because I was an idiot, didn't have any contracts. And then once I got a bit of mentoring and reeled it in, I made money on my 4th. So that's the power of mentoring. So when you look at the cost of not doing it, but obviously vet your mentors. One really, really great indicator, as I said previously, is when they will let you post within their group. And they're all getting, like, most mentors are getting taught by Rob Moore, so they all have their own personal group. Like, he's got this high-level mentorship, and you'll see it, like, they've all got the same sort of format because it works. It's one that works. And if they let you post asking for students who, whether it's good or bad, then they're good in my eyes. And you shouldn't really shirk away from the cost. With these big numbers, I can't recommend getting in some type of mentorship. And I'm going to definitely review the PDS mentorship and stuff that I do with Claire very fairly. I'm already really happy with the way things are going. And I kind of should have done this probably about 18 months ago. So that's my take on it, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I'd really love to hear how you've heard whether mentors are good, or if you're in one, if it's worked for you. Because obviously I sing the Wealth Dragons praise because where they've taken me to where I am now. And now I need to get more knowledge and do bigger deals because that's the direction I want to go in. So thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy your remainder of the evening. I'm so behind today, so now I'm going to head over to the site and do my video for my weekly update. Cheers.